Welcome to 100 Stories for My Daughter. Here you'll find short and inspiring stories for children and adults about love, dreams, and believing in yourself. Each story is a small gift for the soul. Listen, share, and be inspired. In a sunny corner of the forest, the animals had discovered a perfect slide, a long, smooth slope covered in soft grass, winding down a small hill. Every day, a group of young friends would gather to slide down, laughing and squealing as they zipped from the top of the hill to the bottom, where they would tumble onto the soft earth, giggling with delight. Watching his friends from a little distance, there was one bear cub who wasn't joining in the fun. His name was Toby, and though he was a friendly little bear, he was also a bit unsure of himself, especially when it came to big or scary things. And to Toby, the slide looked very big and very scary. The slide stretched all the way down the hill, seeming so much taller when Toby looked up at it from the bottom. He could see his friends bouncing up and down, climbing to the top of the hill with excitement in their eyes. But Toby's legs felt a bit wobbly just thinking about trying it himself. What if he fell? What if he slid too fast? What if he couldn't stop? "Oh, I wish I were as brave as they are," he whispered to himself, watching as his friends laughed and cheered on each other's speedy slides down the hill. Just then, his friend Bunny hopped over to him, noticing the look on Toby's face. "Hey, Toby, why don't you try the slide? It's so much fun." Bunny's eyes sparkled and his ears bounced with enthusiasm. Toby's cheeks grew warm and he looked down, feeling a little embarrassed. "I don't know, Bunny. The slide looks so high and everyone goes so fast. What if I can't do it?" Bunny gave him a gentle smile and sat down beside him. "You don't have to go fast, Toby. You can just take it one little step at a time. Besides, we're all here for you." Toby looked up at Bunny's kind face, and for the first time, he felt a small flicker of courage. Maybe, just maybe, he could try, especially if his friends were there to help. Just then, Fox and Hedgehog, two of his other friends, joined them, sensing that something was happening. "What's going on?" asked Fox, tilting his head. "Toby wants to try the slide," Bunny explained with a friendly grin, "but he's a little nervous." Hedgehog smiled and shuffled closer to Toby. "You know, Toby, I was scared the first time too," he admitted quietly. "But taking small steps helped me, and everyone cheered me on." Fox nodded in agreement. "You can go as slowly as you like, Toby, and if you don't want to slide all the way from the top, you can start part way up. We'll be here with you the whole time." Toby's heart warmed as he listened to his friends. Knowing he didn't have to go all the way to the top or even go quickly made him feel a little less afraid. "Okay," he said softly, "maybe I'll try from the middle of the hill." With his friends by his side, Toby took a deep breath and walked to the middle of the hill. It wasn't as high as the top, but from here he could still see the whole slide stretching down to the bottom. The hill felt a little steep to him, and his paws were still a bit shaky, but Bunny, Fox, and Hedgehog all stood close, cheering him on. "You've got this, Toby," Bunny said, his voice full of encouragement. "Just take it one step at a time," Fox reminded him. Toby took a careful step forward, feeling the soft grass under his paws. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening to his friends' voices, then opened them again and took another small step. He wasn't sliding yet. He was simply moving closer, letting himself get used to the feeling of the slope. With each tiny step, Toby's fear started to fade just a little. The big slide still felt a bit scary, but with his friends by his side, he was beginning to feel that maybe he could give it a try. With each careful step closer to the slide, Toby felt his heart beating faster, but this time it wasn't just with fear. It was with a bit of excitement too. His friends watched with encouraging smiles, cheering him on with every step. Finally, Toby reached the edge of the slide. He peeked down and saw the soft landing at the bottom, but the slope still seemed steep, and his paws trembled. What if he slid too fast? What if he tumbled? Sensing Toby's worry, Hedgehog shuffled closer and gently touched Toby's paw. Remember, Toby, you don't have to go all at once. Just sit down on the edge and feel the slide. You can go little by little if you want. Toby looked at Hedgehog and then at the edge of the slide. With a deep breath, he slowly sat down, feeling the smooth grass beneath him. His friends cheered softly, not too loudly, just enough to remind him they were there, ready to help if he needed it. "Good job, Toby," Fox said, his voice warm and proud. "You're already doing it." Toby felt a little spark of pride. He was sitting on the slide. That was more than he had done before. He took a moment to feel the gentle slope under him, and though his paws were still a bit shaky, he felt a small burst of courage. "Okay," he whispered to himself, "I'll try a little slide." He pushed himself forward just a tiny bit, sliding a short distance down the hill. It was only a small slide, but he felt the thrill of it as he glided down the grass. His friends clapped and cheered, their voices full of joy. "You did it, Toby!" Bunny squealed, hopping with excitement. Toby looked up at them, a wide grin spreading across his face. It had only been a little slide, but he had done it. He had taken that first brave step. Feeling encouraged, Toby looked up the hill, feeling just a bit braver than before. "Maybe I could go a little higher," he said softly, surprising even himself. Fox nodded, his eyes shining with pride. "We'll be right here every step of the way." With his friends by his side, Toby stood up and began the climb back up the hill, ready to try just a little bit more. With each step up the hill, Toby felt his confidence growing. He could still feel a flutter of nervousness in his belly, but he kept reminding himself of how exciting that tiny slide had felt. Now, with Bunny, Fox, and Hedgehog all cheering him on, Toby took a few more steps up to a higher spot. When he reached a place just above the middle of the hill, he sat down again, his friends gathering close, their smiles warm and encouraging. The hill looked steeper from here, but Toby remembered the gentle thrill he'd felt before. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes for a moment and pictured himself sliding all the way down, just like his friends had done. Then, without overthinking it, Toby gently pushed off. This time, he slid down a little faster, feeling the breeze tickle his fur as he glided down the grassy slope. The hill sped past him, and he felt the gentle rush of moving a bit faster than before. His heart raced with excitement, and before he knew it, he'd reached the bottom, safe and sound. His friends burst into cheers, hopping and clapping with joy. "That was amazing, Toby!" shouted Fox, his voice full of pride. "You went even higher this time," chirped Bunny, bouncing up and down. Hedgehog wobbled over to Toby with a big smile. "You look so brave, Toby," he said softly. "How did it feel?" Toby was breathless with excitement, his eyes shining with pride. "It felt really fun," he said, a huge grin spreading across his face. "I didn't think I could do it, but I did." He looked back up the hill, feeling something new in his heart, a little spark of bravery he hadn't felt before. His friends gathered around him, their faces beaming with pride and excitement. With a joyful hop, Bunny asked, "Do you think you're ready for the very top?" Toby looked up to the very top of the hill. It was still tall and a little scary, but now it also looked possible. He thought of how far he had come, from watching at the bottom, too afraid to try, to sliding halfway down the hill. Maybe he could make it all the way. "Yes," Toby said, feeling his voice steady and full of excitement. "I think I'm ready." His friends all cheered, their voices full of encouragement, as Toby started the climb up to the very top, one brave step at a time. With each step up the hill, Toby's heart raced, not with fear this time, but with excitement. He could hardly believe he was doing it, climbing all the way to the very top of the slide that had once seemed too big, too scary. His friends walked with him, close and supportive, and as they reached the highest point of the hill, they all gathered around, their faces beaming with pride and excitement. Toby took a deep breath, looking down the slide that stretched far below. From here, it looked steep and vast, but somehow he wasn't as afraid as before. He could feel his friends beside him, each one cheering him on with smiles and gentle words of encouragement. Fox gave him an encouraging nudge. "We believe in you, Toby. Just remember, you don't have to do it perfectly. Just enjoy the ride." Bunny added, "Take it one moment at a time. We'll be waiting for you at the bottom." Feeling their support, Toby took a deep breath, then carefully sat down at the top of the slide. He placed his paws on the ground, steadying himself. With one last look at his friends and a small smile, he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and gave himself a gentle push forward. The world whizzed by as Toby began to slide down faster than he'd ever gone before. The wind tickled his fur, and he felt the cool grass brush past him as he glided down the hill. It was exhilarating, a feeling he'd never imagined, like flying, like freedom, like pure joy. He laughed as he slid, the thrill of the ride washing away any last trace of fear. In just moments, Toby reached the bottom, his heart pounding with excitement and pride. He stood up, beaming as his friends rushed over to him, cheering and clapping. "Toby, you did it!" Hedgehog squealed, his voice full of admiration. "That was incredible," Bunny said, hopping up and down with excitement. "You look so brave." Fox gave Toby a warm smile. "See, Toby, you were braver than you ever knew." Toby's heart swelled with pride as he looked at his friends, realizing just how far he'd come. He had faced his fear step by step with their support and encouragement. "Thank you, everyone," he said, his voice full of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." Feeling braver and stronger than ever, Toby looked back up at the hill and grinned. "Do you think we could do it again?" His friends all laughed with joy, nodding eagerly, and together they climbed the hill once more, with Toby leading the way, knowing that each small step toward bravery was worth it, and that every slide was a little victory worth celebrating.